Okay, welcome. So this week is inside everybody, inside of every human being, and every person has a soul, and even every living thing has everything that exists. God is creating it, so it has the word of God in it. So you might say to yourself, well, it's just sufficient to have that. Everyone will just communicate with God, and everyone will get God's instructions and so forth. But we see that there's a concept of having a central communication point between God Almighty and humanity. And we see that in the giving of the Torah on Mount Sinai, that God came and revealed himself on Mount Sinai and spoke to the Jewish people and to everyone else who was there, and in 70 languages simultaneously. So there's a concept of having a focal point of holiness, a focal point of service of God. And so we've got tens of millions, hundreds of millions, billions of people. And we don't just say, okay, well, God's just going to speak to each person, which he does, but that's not sufficient. There's a gathering together when God transmits his message. The same thing is that we know that God is everywhere. God is in every place all the time. There's no place hidden from God. There's no place that God is not found. And yet he sees fit that there should be a central focal point for his presence and for his revelation. And that is the tabernacle. And then that was later replaced by God's instructions with the place in time that there should be certain things done at certain times. It does make a difference. There is a place and a time for a particular type of service, page 480. So there is a place and a time for service, and this is so. What's the focal point of the tabernacle? What's the purpose of the tabernacle? So first of all, we see that God refers to the temple as my house of prayer, a house of prayer for all the nations. So when we see that the Jewish people are commanded to build the temple, commanded to build the tabernacle, that is something that is meant to be a service to the rest of humanity. In our work for the Jewish people to build the temple, in the case in the Parsha here, to build the tabernacle, that is for the benefit of everybody. And the Jewish people have a special responsibility to be the ones that are in service in the temple. So that service has different levels of service. So there's the people, the tribe of the Levites, they have a responsibility. Basic families, there's the Kohanim, they're the priests, and they their job is to do the actual service in the temple. Levites, they are in support of the service in the temple. So they play the music in the temple, the special songs and so forth that are part of the temple service. And their job was to carry when the tabernacle, the predecessor to the temple, was merely something that was temporarily in place. I forgot my stand, just putting it right there. When being captive place, the Levites were the ones who had to carry different parts of the in service of this work of traveling and carrying and transporting and assembling tackle each one of the journeys of the, and then at the end of it, the whole, all the trust to donate and just to be to create the holy temple. So, but then it's correct point for the prayer of all of humanity, and the service that's being done in the temple is for the best of humanity. There's many different that are brought. Some of them are for all of humanity. Some of them are brought to the Jewish for different times. High priest. John, sorry, the connection and you got disconnected. You have your hand. Did you want to ask a question? You can unmute if you to say something. If not, you can put in your hand. Well, there you go.
Hi, I was only saying that the audio was breaking up. That's all.
Oh, yeah, there seems to be a bad connection here. Okay. Can you hear me now?
It still broke up some, but we can keep trying.
I wonder why it's doing that. Okay, well, now better. I say right now. Okay, so focal point of the tabernacle is, and I meant to bring a book would have pictures in it, the entire tabernacle. I'm not sure if this book version has a drawing in here. But if you go to page 497, you could see the general concept of the tabernacle. I think another. Sure.
They have a place in Pennsylvania where they have the whole like
Oh, yeah. Um, here is the actual tabernacle, and there's a courtyard, like a wall type around it. There's a wall over here, and there's altar over here. In here, in the temple itself, in the tabernacle itself, there's a menorah. See, this is just two different opinions on how it looked. And there's this bread was brought in temple, and we're here. The ark. So the ark, and this ark contained tablets is brought down on Mount Sinai. Also on the ark or with or a Taurus. Here it is. The ark. We what we read today, on Saturday, is Torah. Use some generation copy and copied from generation to generation. So, and Torah is still. You saying something?
I'm sorry to interrupt. I almost can't hear a word that you're saying, and I wanted to stop you just in case you're not getting a good recording. It's not so important if I can't hear you, but if you're not getting a good recording, then that would be important.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll make a backup recording over here. I just started a backup recording. So this is really the focal point. If you want to read a lot movie, that's a movie on I think the guy says it based him his life, that he was an archaeologist, that he was looking for ark because the Jewish people had the ark and they carried it into the land of Israel, and then it was in the temple. So it was a temporary the tabernacle in Israel, in there to Shiloh, and then went to Jerusalem and the Holy Temple, and so it was there hundreds years. And the leaders of the Jewish people said that the enemies invading Israel, and because they hid this. So the question is, where is it? So this is a mystery for us. Here's you wanted to find this ark because it's and let me just see here. Change this if it's more stable. Because I'm getting messages that the internet connection isn't stable also. So anyways, so this person, he's an archaeologist and his name was Wendell Jones. So he says that Indiana Jones is the movie Indiana Jones, which is made based on him. That's what he claims. He passed away now. Yeah, Indiana Jones Raiders Lost Ark.
Oh, that's okay. I thought it was a different movie.
No, so Indiana Jones and Raiders Lost Ark. That movie is based on story of a man who was looking for the lost ark. This ark over here that you're seeing a drawing of that we're studying in this Torah portion is what they were searching for many people have been looking for it in real life. There's different opinions where it was hidden. Was it hidden in the desert? Was it hidden in the Temple Mount itself in different chambers down below? So you have a question?
I said that's a holy thing. If God will want somebody to find it, it will be found. If God don't want it to be found, nobody will find it.
Right, of course. So I'm not making any comments on the attempts to find it. I'm not making any comments on the movie. I'm just saying this is a movie that most people are familiar with. That's what that's about. And it's all made up, obviously, because none of the things that happen in the movie happen in this guy's life, other than the fact that he was looking, as far as I know. But he was looking for this. So that is one of the focal points so the ark. Why is that the focal point of the tabernacle? Because those are the tablets that Moses brought down on Mount Sinai with the 10 commandments on those. So it's showing us the centrality of God's law and God's commandments in everything that we do. That we're making the centerpiece of the temple is the tablets that have God's law on it. And that's something that's unchangeable, and that's something that's permanent, and that's something that applies. It's very interesting that this is the focus. The focus is keeping God's law, because it's only by keeping God's law that a person is able to bring God's vision to fulfillment, right? Is imagine that I say, listen, I want to go from here to, I don't know, where do I want to go? Chicago, right? But you know what? I'm not going to follow any of the rules, right? There's a map. I'm not going to follow the map. I just do what I want. I want to go to Chicago, but I'm just going to go there any way I could figure it out. I'll just drive, right? And then, I won't follow the speed limit. I won't follow the lane changes. I won't follow the directions, right? There's a traffic going west and there's traffic going east. Why can't I drive on the lanes of the traffic? I want to go west, but why can't I drive on the lanes of traffic going east, right? It's not fair, right? Why can't I do what I want? So we know what happens when a person leaves the rules. It ends the disaster. So that's why the law is the centerpiece of understanding that it's a relationship with God. But God is saying, my dear children, here's how to be able to live a fruitful and happy life. If you follow the law, that's going to get you to the destination that you want to get to, and the destination that I want to get everyone to. So that is an instrumental point that we have to see from this week's Torah portion, the centrality of this. And of course, we have the menorah, the candelabrum, which has the 7 branches and indicating bringing the light into the world. In fact, it says that King Solomon built in the Holy Temple in Jerusalem, he built another 10 of these candelabra, these menorahs, to indicate that the 70 nations, because the Jewish people are responsible for the well-being, the spiritual well-being of the 70 nations, and they're responsible for bringing the message out to the 70 nations. And that's how the temple was built, with another 10 candelabra, which each with 7 branches. So that's 7 times 10 is 70. Excuse me. And the windows in the base to make this were built that they were narrow on the inside and wide on the outside, so the light could shine out into the world. So the Torah portion discusses this. It gives the instructions, the command, God's command on how this supposed to be made, the coverings for the tabernacle on page 495. And these are examples of laws that don't, I mean, you need to know that they exist because the temple is an essential part of humanity's experience. At the same time, the specific details of the laws that really apply for the Jewish people to fulfill the obligation to build the tabernacle at the time of the desert, and then to build a temple in Jerusalem. And the non-Jewish people, their job is to support that, to support it in terms of making sure that it's possible to create the stable and civilized world that will be able to be a foundation on which the holiness of the temple can be established. And that is the Torah portion. Torah portion is in great detail, going through the details of the tabernacle. Any questions? Any questions? Questions? Anyone online questions? Okay. So now, why don't we open the floor to anything else you want to talk about? Because we had normally when we go through last week, we went to 2 weeks, we went to the Torah portion. No, last week. We went through for like an hour, well over an hour. This week's a little bit shorter. So maybe there's other things, topics of the day you want to bring up or any questions you want to ask.
Can we finish talking about the what the book name was?
The book that begins with a P.
Remember we did the study and we left off saying we were gonna do it next week?
Wait, here, the prayer book,
No, not the prayer book.
the Gemara?
The Gemara, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay. So I want to do that now? We could,
If she wants to, yeah.
I don't know.
okay. So we could, let me just get a copy. I'm just gonna pause this for a second.